Hi everyone, I hope you all are great. Today we have semicolons, colons, and commas. First, you have to log in using the aplusstudent.com. Click on any move on to language at the grade 8. Chapter is semicolons, colons, and commas. Lesson is use semicolons and commas with list. Use semicolons and commas to separate clauses. Alright, so use colon to introduce a list after an independent clause. If a list does not follow an independent clause, do not use punctuation to introduce the list. So we have my parents have visited much of Western Europe, Austria, Belgium, France, Germany, Greece, Italy, the Netherlands, Portugal, and Spain. So we use colon. My parents have visited much of Western Europe, including Austria and the rest of them. So if it does not follow an independent clause like this, then you do not use punctuation. Use commas to separate three or more items in a series. Put a comma after each item in the list except for the last one. So for speakers, our speakers will be Kelvin O'Malley, Rachel Steen, and Linda Wu. So you have to put commas to separate items in a series except for the last one, that is here. Now use semicolons to separate items in a series when using commas would be unclear, such as when one or more items in the series already contain a comma. So just like we have our speaker speak Kelvin O'Malley, an English professor, then semicolon, Rachel Steen, a paint journalist, and Linda Wu, a blogger. Alright, let's look at the examples. Add comma, semicolon, colon if needed. Otherwise, submit the text without any additional punctuation. So we have semicolons needs to be added because you can see that they already have commas. So if you add more than one comma, it will be unclear. So you need the colon. Alright, let's go to the test and you can share your answers with me if you know them. Okay. So add column, semicolon, or column if needed. Otherwise, submit the text without any additional punctuation. So what do we need to add here? Is it colon space or semicolon? Alright, so we have semicolon here. Alright, so what are we adding here? Is it space, semicolon, or colon? Alright, so we have semicolon here. Then what are we adding here? Is it comma, space, or colon? So we have commas here. Okay, we have commas here. All right, so next off, do we have, all right, so let's see the last. So is it space, colon, or colon here? Each of them. All right, so we have colon. So we'll move on to the next lesson. So you have to make sure you complete this one if you haven't done it. All right, so we have used semicolons and commas to separate clauses. Alright, so use a comma to separate two independent clauses that are joined with a coordinating conjunction, such as and, but, or so. However, if the coordinating conjunction joins verb or verb phrases in a compound predicate, a comma should not be used. So Wyatt was reserved around new people, but he was hardly shy. So we have a comma and then but. Whilst Wyatt was reserved around new people, but was hardly shy. Also use a comma to separate a independent clause and an independent clause when the dependent clause comes first. So if the dependent clause comes first, you have to use a comma to separate the two clauses. So this dependent clause usually starts with the subordinating conjunctions such as after, although, or because. So although Wyatt was reserved around new people, he was highly shy. So although is what the dependent clause. So you need to put a comma in between dependent clause and the independent clause. So use a comma to connect two closely related independent clauses that are not joined with a coordinating conjunction. So we have what? Wyatt was highly shy, he was simply reserved around new people. And then also use a semicolon to connect two independent clauses that are joined with a conjunction adverb, conjunctive adverbs such as consequently, however, or therefore. So you have to use semicolon to connect to independent clauses like that. So Wyatt was hardly shy, nevertheless, he was reserved around new people. Okay, so let's look at some examples. So we have before Miss Sanfo. Before Miss Sandoval saw the Beechwood National Forest, that she had no idea how stunning the landscape is in Idaho. So is it comma, semicolon? What are we adding here? So we have what? A comma because it starts with before. So the first part is what? A dependent clause. Alright, so let's go to the test and you can share your answers with me, okay? So add a comma or semicolon if needed. The surface of Mars may look like a desert, but it is actually extremely cold with nighttime temperature as low as minus 115 Fahrenheit. So which of them are we adding here? So we have what? A comma. Then as William chopped the cilantro for the chili, Dash I shredded the cheese for the quesadillas. So is it first, second, or third? Alright, so we have what here? Comma. Then, before Mrs. Sandoval saw the Beechwood National Forest, that she had no idea how stunning the landscape is in Idaho, first, second, or third. Alright, so we have comma. Then, mother yes climbed to higher altitude than do males of female cows. I just believe the steep mountain slopes may help protect calves from predators and provide a richer source of food. Um, that's the second or the third. So what do we have here? Semicolon. So what do we have here? Is it the first or second? So we have what? Comma. Alright, so we have Wild Leaks is a whistleblower website where people anonymously report illegal wildlife trade. The site may prove effective in the fight against wildlife crime. Dash, however, it requires internet access in order to be useful. First, second, or the third one. So we have semicolon. Okay, so that's it for our lesson today on that semicolon, colons, and commas. Can you tell me if you have any questions? Alright, since we have no question to end here, complete this lesson if you haven't. See you all next time. Bye.